What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to take a look at an outstanding middleweight by the name of Ellsworth Webb. He was born November 20th, 1931 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He died November 23rd, 2017 in Chicago, Illinois. He was 86 years of age at the time of his death. He was laid to rest in Tulsa, Oklahoma, his hometown. He stood 5'9¼ and he had total bouts of 40 fights, 34 wins, 19 knockouts, 6 losses, and he was only stopped once in his career. And that was by the former middleweight and light heavyweight champion, Dick Tiger. He was an orthodox boxer-puncher. November 1956 and February 61, he was ranked as high as number 2 in the world by the prestigious Ring magazine. Now, he began his professional debut September 1st, 1953. But before he would get into that, he would have an astonishing amateur career. He fought in 1951 and 1952 NCAA middleweight championships. He lost and was knocked out in the second round by Hungary's 3-time Olympian in the junior middleweight division, Laszlo Papp. In 1952, he was a hair short of bringing home the gold medal with that loss to Laszlo Papp. Laszlo Papp was a 3-time Olympian. Fantastic fighter was Laszlo Papp. Now, Ellsworth Webb was introduced into the Idaho State University Sports Hall of Fame. And he was convinced to go to that university by Ed Sanders. I'll get into that in a moment. December 4th, 1959, he fought a great 15-round battle with the man from Utah, two-fisted brawler, middleweight champion, Gene Foreman. Gene Foreman had some wars with Benny Kid Paret, who was a former welterweight champion, Carmen Basilio, former welterweight and middleweight champion, Dick Tiger, former middleweight and light heavyweight champion, Joey Giardello from Philadelphia. He was a middleweight champion as well. And he had some outstanding wars with 5-time middleweight, 1-time welterweight, the great Sugar Ray Robinson, did Gene Foreman. Ellsworth Webb was born one of 11 children. His mother, working long hours, obviously left Ellsworth unsupervised. And he found himself living a street life, getting into street fights and doing petty crimes, as most inner city kids in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he was sent to live with his uncle, and eventually mother joining him and the rest of the family in Los Angeles. He would begin spending time with a young man by the name of Donald Sanders, who was the younger brother of highly ranked amateur star Ed Sanders. Now, Ed Sanders would defeat Ingemar Johansson in the amateurs. And future heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson. Ingemar Johansson would defeat Floyd Patterson and become the heavyweight champion of the world. But Floyd Patterson would eventually become a 2-time heavyweight champion by knocking out Ingemar Johansson in stunning fashion, causing Ingemar Johansson's left foot to twitch. They would have a 3-fight series, Floyd Patterson and Ingemar Johansson. But Ingemar Johansson was an outstanding fighter. And he would lose to future heavyweight champion Charles Sonny Liston, did Ed Sanders. And Ed Sanders would come short of winning the 1952 Helsinki Games heavyweight champion in the gold medal rounds. Ed Sanders was a phenomenal fighter. Now, as a professional, Ed Sanders would do pretty good. But he would eventually die December 12, 1954, suffering injuries sustained in a bout by a knockout of heavyweights Willie James. Now, Willie James came from a school of some up-and-coming heavyweights, fighters such as Bob Baker, Keen Simmons, Bob Satterfield, Nino Valdez. I mean, just to name a few. But you had some hot prospects coming up in amateurs to the professional ranks. And Willie James was one of them. And unfortunately, on the night of December 12, 1954, Ed Sanders would collapse and he would die after that fight. But Donald Sanders talked Ellsworth into going to Compton Junior College, because that's where Donald Sanders had attended. While originally considered football, Ed Sanders talked him into boxing Ellsworth with undefeated at light middleweight NCAA champion in 1953. Now, after being introduced as the top amateur trainer, Heck Knowles, he trained Chuck Davies, southpaw, and Chuck Spencer, also retired as an amateur, with a record of 71 wins, no losses, and 57 knockouts. Ellsworth turned pro July 1st, 1953, on the undercard of a heavyweight contender, Bob Satterfield, and Big Bob Baker, in some fight that was. Unbelievable match between Bob Baker and Bob Satterfield. Ellsworth was named Spiderweb when he KO'd Chicago's Johnny Wilson in 2 rounds. He was very impressive that night. In his first 8 months as a professional, he fought 13 matches, won 12, lost 1, and he had 10 great knockouts. He fought great names such as Neil Rivers, who was highly ranked at that time, and Wolfie Green of Chicago. He had some outstanding victories. He was named Fighter of the Month by the prestigious Ring magazine on April 17, 1957. Defeated number 3 contender Randy Sandy. Randy Sandy was a phenomenal fighter. He fought Charlie Joseph of New Orleans. Webb scored a very impressive KO over Rory Calhoun. Rory Calhoun was a two-fisted puncher. I remember Rory Calhoun very well. He played in a few movies. One of them was Requiem of a Heavyweight. And Requiem for a Heavyweight was about a fighter who typically would be down and out in his career, looking for a job, not able to take care of himself. But he played the role of one of the fighters in a bar. He was also in The Harder They Fall with Humphrey Bogart. And he also was one of the men in the bar. You see, Rory Calhoun was a fighter. I think I did a profile on him, but I will be doing future profiles on Rory Calhoun. I respect him that much. Spider split a 2-fight series with Harley Mims. He defeated Jimmy Bitcham. June 24th, 1958, Webb traveled to London in England to face Nigeria's Dick Tiger, and he defeated the future middleweight and light heavyweight champion. When facing Gene Foreman, a victory would be giving Webb a shot at Sugar Ray Robinson's middleweight championship strap. Instead, a shot went to Gene Foreman. Standing in front of Webb's ranking spot stood number 1, welterweight champion, Carmen Basilio. Number 2, Utah's middleweight champion, Gene Foreman. And number 3, Philadelphia's middleweight champion, Joey Giardello. Ranked number 4 was Spider Webb. So Spider Webb would have to face Joey Giardello. And I gotta tell you, that fight took place in San Francisco, November 19th, 1958. And some fight that was. And Spider Webb looked fantastic. He bloodied up Joey Giardello's face with a cut under his left eye. You see, Joey Giardello was a 2-1 favorite over Spider Webb. And Spider Webb surprised everyone by stopping Joey Giardello in the 7th round. Now, Joey Giardello wanted to continue, but because of his eye being so swollen and blood running down his eyes, the crowd actually stated they wanted the fight stopped. It was a beautiful exhibition with a series of combinations. Joey Giardello's face looked like a red balloon after the bout. Stage reporters and ringside observers. Joey had a cut under his left eye, and Joey just didn't have it that night. Maybe because he was in front of Spider Webb. Now, Webb would return to his home base in Chicago. He defeated Bobby Boyd in round number 1. Fantastic fight. Because Webb was hurt himself, and he was down in the first round. And he was groggy for the remainder of the round. And he would open up, and he would tag Bobby Boyd. Boyd would go down, he would get up, and eventually be knocked out over the first strand. And that showed the mettle of Spider Webb. Now he would face Neil Rivers. 4 rounds. April 22nd, 1959. December 22nd, 1959, he faced NBA middleweight champion Gene Foreman, and Logard, Utah. Now eventually, Spiderweb would be knocked out. I mean, this was one of the greatest fights at that time with Dick Tiger. And Dick Tiger would become middleweight champion eventually. And then he would also hold the light heavyweight championship belt. And he'd be knocked out in stunning fashion by future light heavyweight champion Bob Foster with a bodacious left hook. Dick Tiger would have great fights with Joey Giardello, Gene Foreman. In fact, Gene Foreman fight was Fight of the Year. And Dick Tiger would face Emil Griffith. He felt he was robbed in that fight. He fought him twice. But Dick Tiger was some fighter. But Spiderweb was a phenomenal middleweight. And I just wanted to touch on his career. I'm going to show you a few opponents of Spiderweb. November 19th, 1958. Joey Giardello, 2-1 favorite, would be an opponent of Spiderweb. And some fight that would be. Giardello was stopped in the 7th round. But Joey Giardello was a phenomenal Philadelphia middleweight. Outstanding fighter. As a matter of fact, he faced Reuben Hurricane Carter and won a substantial amount of money in a lawsuit. Because in the movie Hurricane, they had Joey Giardello being bounced all over the ring. And when the fight film showed that didn't happen, his family sued and was awarded, justly so, a substantial amount of money. Salute to Joey Giardello, one of my favorite middleweight fighters of all time. Great middleweight and light heavyweight champion Dick Tiger fought 2 outstanding fights with Spiderweb. And he would be the only fighter to knock out Spiderweb. Beautiful two-fisted puncher. Was a great Dick Tiger. Now Spiderweb faced Neil Rivers. He faced him April 22nd, 1959. Fought him actually twice. But Neil Rivers was ranked very high at that time. And Spiderweb will get a victory over him. Very good fighter was Neil Rivers. Spiderweb would face Rory Calhoun twice. Rory Calhoun was a phenomenal fighter. I just wanted to touch on a phenomenal middleweight, Spiderweb. Thanks for hanging in there with me. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series, stating all great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute to Spiderweb. Phenomenal career he had. And you just learned about him right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Thanks for watching. Until next time.